Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live match preview show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. The Premier League returns after a couple of weeks off due to international football, which I'm very pleased about. So let's crack on and discuss our upcoming game, which is, of course, against Nottingham Forest. And yeah, let's analyze our opponents. We will then present the team news. There's been some interesting team news revealed by Arne Slot in the press conference earlier this morning. And then we'll predict the lineups and then we'll give our score predictions as well. So let's start with Nottingham Forest. So it's been an interesting season for the Nottingham side. They had a sensational season last season, finishing seventh in the league. Originally qualified for the Conference League, but due to Crystal Palace's ownership conflict, they were promoted into the Europa League. So, as you can imagine, expectations were changed, and Forest were playing in Europe for the first time since 1996. And with those expectations changing, there's more excitement amongst the fan base. And look, rightly so, they had a fantastic season last year where I think most of us were expecting them to just survive or be near enough near the relegation zone. But something didn't seem right in the summer. There seemed to be a breakdown in relation between the owner, Evangelos Marinakis, and also manager Espirito Santo. After the manager publicly criticized the club's transfer strategy, so Marinakis took matters in his own hands and dismissed Nuno Espirito Santo 3 matches in the Premier League season, which yeah is a bit of a strange one, but uh, he seems like a character that's goes both by emotions rather than logic. And then bizarrely, he made the appointment of Ange Postecoglou a complete polar opposite in terms of the football philosophy played at Nottingham Forest. And look, let's be honest, there was no surprise that that didn't work. So fast track to now, Forest have another manager, new manager in Sean Dyche. In all comps so far this season, he's managed 5 games for Forest, 2 wins, which was a 2-0 win against Porto, that was his opening game, and a 3-1 win, which was the recent result against Leeds United. 2 draws, which was against United and Sturm Graz, and a defeat by the hands of Portsmouth. Oh, sorry, Bournemouth. So tomorrow is a big test for the Reds because if we don't find a way to win, honestly, I don't want to seem harsh when I say this out loud. It could be curtains for the coach. I'm not saying Arsenal is going to get sacked, but the pressure will pile up more and more. And whether he accepts or whether he likes it or not, his position is under fire. And look, I'll be brutally honest with you guys. I'm not accepting that, Liverpool can't or don't know how to beat a low block. For me, that's unacceptable. We did it last season. There was a lot of personal changes for us this summer, where a lot of players were brought in, and of course, a few other players departed the club as well. We're a local football club. We have players in our squad that, let's be honest, a lot of our competitors would dream to have in their squads. So Arsenal really needs to step up in the coming weeks. If you look at our run of fixtures on paper, it's an easier run of games in comparison to the start of the season that we had. So there's a lot riding on this game. It can't just be where we nick a point here and there. We need to start piling up the points. We start getting 3 points on the board. If we concede more defeats in the upcoming weeks, I don't know what the board will do. They will have to make a decision for me very, very soon. If we're losing back-to-back games and Arsenal is still here by the end of the year, that's a concern for me as well. But let's not start on a negative. We'll speak about those kind of events if it unfolds. But this is a big game. I know we've had an international break, but the defeat against Man City for me still haunts me a little bit. The way we got scored in that game, and they didn't even get out of second gear. They were cruising throughout that game, and we couldn't even lay a punch on them. That's how bad it was. It was like watching Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Ben. Like it wasn't, we just couldn't get. We didn't have the energy to compete in that in that game. So I hope Liverpool switch it up, and I hope tactically we have a different approach because honestly, I feel like he's not really set the team up tactically like he did last season. He's made quite a few changes. It's not the way we played last year. We're not building from the back. We're not playing with energy, or we're not playing in any patterns. Uh, he seems to be playing with no real drive or no real energy. Uh, that's probably why we've been linked with a couple of players in the January window, which we'll talk about towards the latter end of the show. But yeah, it's a very polar opposite of how we played last year, and this was the opponent where Arne Slot learned a lesson. So I'm hoping he's learned a lesson where he can execute the game plan um, going into his fixtures. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and let's see how the team sets up. Before I do the team news, I'm just going to go through some of the comments because there's a lot to discuss in regards to the team news because we got a couple of unexpected injury updates, which is a bit of a blow to the start of this game, if I'm being brutally honest. So let's go through the comments now. Ozan Kabak says, long time no see. Ozzy, big up Ozan Kabak. I hope you well. Apologies. Yeah, I was planning on doing more content this week, but yeah, just been under the weather. So I thought, let me take a few days off. Yeah, we're back and ready to go. So yeah, hopefully more content on the way. Sean Dyche, low block incoming FFS. I couldn't agree more. That's my concern. Where whenever you play against a Sean Dyche team, it is the low block. It is the kind of game you play where it's not just defenders being physical. The whole team is going to be physical and all over the pitch. So that's something that we have to get accustomed to. And I know we got great wins against Villa and Real Madrid, but that's not the way they play football. So because of that, a lot of fans thought we're back. I'm not gonna lie, I got gassed about after the Real Madrid match because I thought, you know what, that is a tough opponent there, and we beat them very convincingly. It wasn't the biggest scoreline, but the manner we played, we played to our levels. But having said that, these are the teams like where you have to try and get points off on the board because this is the bread and butter of the Premier League. You have to beat these type of opponents. When you are the champion, everyone is looking at you. You are the target. Just look at how rival fans talk about Liverpool. We're not even in the title race, let's be honest, but they're still talking about us. So we are, prime target. We are the topic of conversation in any room. So, we have to address this. We have to go back to winning ways. Otherwise, we will fall behind, and that is my concern going forward. So, yeah, let's hope this game is a new turn for us, and hopefully we can go and build up with some momentum and build up some wins on the board. Will we do it? I don't have a lot of confidence if I'm being brutally honest. I'm not gonna just sugarcoat it for the sake of it. I am concerned about the way we're playing. So yeah, just because we've had 2 weeks off, it doesn't mean that those things erased from our minds. The Man City games was the one where I thought, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. So let's see, how we set up in this game. Bo, big up. Bo, he says, obviously, man, G, big up, Bo. I hope you're doing well. We need to win every game until 2026. Or Slot has to go. It sounds harsh, but yes, I hear your point there. We need to get some wins. And of course, you never go off what's on paper, but in terms of the run of fixtures, they're not the difficult fixtures, in comparison to the start of the season. We faced Arsenal, we faced United. Well, of course, United not a strong team, but of course we didn't even get a result in that game. So we faced a lot of the stronger teams. We just recently faced Man City as well. So, in terms of the run of fixtures, you would expect Liverpool to get some more points. So you've got, West Ham. We've got PSV first and we've got West Ham. Sunderland, just because they're not newly promoted team, doesn't mean that that's going to be a walk in the park. It's not going to be that type of game as well. They've been one of the surprises of the Premier League. They managed to notch up a draw against the leaders in Arsenal. So They are a strong outfit at the minute. They've got Leeds United, Inter Milan, and then we've got Brighton, and then we've got Tottenham in December. So, a better run of fixtures there. But we have a lot of problems. Let's not be around the bush. We do have a lot of problems. And unfortunately, with the new injuries as well, that has not helped the situation. So we'll address that very shortly. Deleuze TV says, Slot better get the tactics and substitutions right. Yeah, you better get the lineup right first of all before we even get into tactics and substitution, or else the fan base will turn on him. Look, if we if we lose this game, there's a lot of sections of the fan base that have turned, and I'm not here to tell anyone how to feel or how to react as a fan. That's not my job here. My job is just to have a discussion with you guys, talk Liverpool, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not far away from being slot out, only because of the way we've played so far this season. It's been a completely polar opposite, and spending all that money. It's not just the money; it's the profile players that we brought in, and we still haven't improved as a team, or there has been no signs to show me there's an improvement. For me, it's a tactical reason why the team hasn't flourished right now. So, is Slot, you know, feeling the pressure, or is this job become too big for him only because of the profile players that we're signing now? I don't know. But for me, in terms of the comments he's made in recent weeks, revealing the blueprint to how to beat Liverpool and saying we're struggling, we can't find solutions. He's losing credibility as a coach when he says things like that out loud. So, it's a big concern going forward. Also, in the comments says, like, Khabib smashing Gregor's face, yeah, and choking him out at the same time as well. So, yeah, that's how it feels like. Um, we do not have an identity or style at all. We don't. We really don't. We really, really don't have an identity. That's the concern. We don't know if we're a ball possession team. We don't know if we're counter-attacking anymore. Um, we're just a bit all over the shop. So yeah, that's something we've got to fix. And I feel like the next few weeks will determine the direction of the club. But I don't know. It's such a weird one. I know because we've been off for 2 weeks. The last the game, the memory's not fresh, but I knew how annoyed I was after that game because I was just like that was a tough watch to get mugged off in that game where Man City schooled us, and a lot of fans aren't even talking about Man City about being title contenders, but that game definitely put them back in the frame to compete with Arsenal for the league title. Liverpool, we can't even think about that. We have to take it one game at a time. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, and we'll speak about the team news very shortly. Liverpool 12th man, big up as always, Liverpool 12th man. He said, "What's up, Oz? Just checking to see what's good and hope you're well." I'm doing well. Yeah, a bit under the weather, but it's just that time of the season. But yeah, I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well as well, 12th man. Yeah, we'll have a chat soon. I'd like to get you on the channel soon. So yeah, big up yourself. I hope you're doing well. Bo says, if we lose the next few games, what will the club actually do? You think? I honestly, I don't know. I would assume that the coach gets sacked because the form that he's shown is relegation form. Like you don't lose back-to-back games like that. Liverpool don't lose 6 out of 7. That's not Liverpool. Even under Roy Hodgson, we weren't that bad. Well, we were, but we weren't losing that many consecutive games. And you have to put context into in terms of the players we have in our squad and the summer that we had. It's not acceptable for us to be losing like that. So, and it's not even just about being, further down the pecking order in the table. We're not competing. We're not winning games, and we're not nowhere near a title race right now. So we're in November and already conceding defeat. That's not Liverpool. That's not the Liverpool we've all known. We've always shown a fight in terms of competing for league titles. So I don't know. I don't think they would want to sack him personally. I think there'll be too much going on to do that. And I'll be honest with you, that's probably one of the reasons why I'm not completely slot out. And the reason why I'm not completely slot out is because I don't know who'd come in to replace him. Like there's no standout candidate for me that I feel like, you know what, if he comes to our club, I feel like he can turn it around. I can't really envision anyone to do that and come in. Like, for example, a lot of people have said Oliver Glasner, because he, in terms of the way Palace play, more defensively sound, a back three, and playing with wing backs, which I'll be honest with you would suit our personnel. But I don't know about Glasner if that's the right fit. What other names are there? Iraola of Bournemouth. Of course, they play some good football, but in terms of his philosophy, it's not. They're not renowned to be a high possession type of team. So I don't know if it's the right match for Liverpool. So there's a lot of questions. And look, I'll be honest with you, there won't be a sort of a big name manager that I think is available that would come to Liverpool at this stage of the season. It'll have to be another Arne Slot type of coach where, you know, the data and the metrics that will define the next opponent, if that makes sense. Because let's be honest, I'll say, from my point of view, I was aware of Arne Slot, in terms of what final did, getting to the Europa League final, all that sort of stuff. But I didn't have a vast knowledge of the coach like that. So when he was linked to the job, a surprise name. And then when I heard he was favourite, I was even more surprised. So I don't know. It could be like a random coach that we're not aware of, but then that doesn't bode a lot of confidence either at the same time. So I think if he was to lose, I think they may stick with him until the end of the season. That's not what I want. That's what I can see happening. But if we're losing back-to-back games, December is the time to rectify our our losses and go into a new direction, get another coach, and then you know, I feel like whoever's gonna come in, it doesn't make a difference. And when I say difference, doesn't make a difference, I'm talking about transfers because that's Richard Hughes' job to, come up with the master plan of signing certain profiles. And Arne Slot, in this instance, is the coach. He's there to coach the first team. Of course, he has a say in terms of who comes in, but I don't feel like it's a large amount. It's just an opinion. They will have the final say. That's how I'm seeing it. So, if it's a new coach, then they might have had players already, lined up. Mark Gay, Semenyo, those type of players, they might already be lined up for all we know. So, yeah, it's you would assume that he'd get the sack. I just don't think he would, if I'm being honest. So, only time will tell. Apologies. Delulu Steve says 12th man is the slot defense league. Look, I have a lot of respect for 12th man. So, if that is 12th man's opinion, that's all good. Um, I think in this instance, no one's right or wrong. It's just how you view the game, and I'd probably get him on the show soon, and then we can have a good discussion and see what his point of view is. It'll be nice to have him on the show, and then we can discuss it out loud. So if that is his point of view, it's all good. I don't really have an issue about that. You guys have called me the Verts Defense League, so we're all part of some sort of defense league in some shape or form. So yeah, it is what it is, I guess, for us content creators. Bo says I don't only need results, but world class performances the next week. Bo, I'll be honest with you, I'm not expecting world class performances because I just don't see the team just switching like that. I don't see it. Um, I don't want to see results now. I need some wins on that board. Performances, of course, help because it gives you satisfaction. It gives you promise for the upcoming games. But right now, because we're starving for wins, I just need some wins on the board. I want us to climb up that table. And climb up that table enough to when we get to January, make a couple of reinforcements and then take it from there onwards. So yeah, that's how I'm seeing it because I'm not expecting a lot of tactical changes from Slot. I hope I'm proven wrong. I really do because there's different. I feel like there's different formations we can play with the current crop of players that we have, but we just haven't exploited those options. So the formation that I've been saying for months and months and months is a 4-4-2 diamond. Try and get Isak and try and get Ekitike in the same team. You know, Isak is struggling with fitness and form as well, to be fair. But whenever he's played, he's not really been clinical in front of goal. Whereas we've got Ekitike, who's been the surprise package, and he's on form. He scored his first goal for France the other day. He's on it, and he's performing at a very high level for us. So for me, it would be unfair to drop Ekitike in order to facilitate Isak in our team, just so he can gain match fitness. So best solution would be try and play both of them in the team. Now, argument would be maybe play Ekitike on the left, Isak on the central position. Possibility, but I feel like you lose a lot of Ekitike's strong skill sets because when he plays in that striker role, what I enjoy watching him is the fact that he drops deep and links up between the midfield and attack. But of course, playing on the left hand side, you're not able to do that. On the left hand side, you need to be a bit more direct. I know he scored the goal for France from that left hand side, so that's why a lot of fans I saw online say maybe that's the position for him there. But you know, even in playing on the left, I don't see him playing as an orthodox winger. I expect him to be a bit more of an inside forward and running diagonally into the box. That's the kind of runs I'm expecting. But there's areas of our pitch, or should I say, of our line of our team where we are disjointed due to the number of new players we have in the squad. You know, Salah's on that right hand side, but Frimpong, of course, he's been in and out team due to injury, but he's not formed a consistent relationship with Salah on that right hand side. With Trent, different type of player. He would literally pick up the ball and find Salah anywhere of the pitch. Whereas with Frimpong, Salah needs to be a bit more alert, where he's playing 1-2s with him, or he goes inside and then plays the reverse pass to Frimpong when he's further down the byline. So there's different dynamics. The left hand side is our weakest part of our pitch. Kirkes, when he's with Gakpo on that left hand side, that partnership is just not working at all. Kirkes is making runs on the overlap, and then Gakpo doing what he does, cutting inside, thinking he's going to shoot, whatnot. I don't, most of the time it is him trying to shoot, but then he needs to be a bit more assertive. He needs to be a bit more creative in those moments where we're all thinking you're going to go in and shoot. So why not trick the opponent and produce a reverse pass for that overlapping run, because that creates more space that allows Kirkes to whipping across inside the danger zone and hopefully a goal scoring opportunity for us. But he's not done that. He's literally completely ignored him on that left hand side. So that's why we've not formed a good relationship there. Whenever Robertson's played there, it looks a bit more balanced because they do have some sort of relationship on the pitch. Funny enough, I was watching the Sadio Mane interview with Rio Ferdinand, and they were talking about his relationship with Robertson. And what got to me about Mane was that he's very, very selfless. Like he would do the hard graft. Despite being an attacker, he would do the hard graft for the team. But more so, particular Robertson. There'll be games where if Robertson's finding it tricky to handle, a winger from the opposite side, Mane will say to him, "Don't worry, me and you, we'll keep him in our pockets, and then we'll deal with it together." There's teamwork there. We don't have that in the team. We don't have collective, of players that are working for each other like that. We're very disjointed. So yeah, it's been such a weird watch. As a Liverpool fan this season, I had such high expectations, but yeah, nowhere near to what's actually a reality, unfortunately. I was come out this comment says, "Nah, I don't want Glasner after he personally blocked the gay deal." I was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that would be my thinking as well." You know, Steve Parish with his Polaris class, that was another reason, and then you know, Glasner, despite what they say, he did throw the ultimate and say, "Look, if he leaves, I leave as well." So they couldn't lose the manager and the captain now, could they? So that definitely played a part. So yeah, I hear you on that one. But obviously Liverpool never play with a five at the back system. That's not the man. Yeah, we don't. But I remember when we had Brendan Rodgers, and there was a phase where we weren't getting wins. We weren't losing, but we weren't getting wins. And I remember him sort of shifting to a back three. I believe we had Sacco in the team, and he was playing on the left side of a centre back role, and it helped us get some points. But then we did revert back to our normal formation. So I think that's all I'm kind of asking from the coach. Just be a bit more astute with your tactics. You're deploying the same tactics, and we're getting the same results. We're not winning. So find a different formula, find a different tweak or variation of play where we can nick those wins. It might not be. I'm not expecting world class performances because we're not performing at that level at all. But I do want us to play with more energy, more drive, more determination. And look, when you hear about strikers when they're out of form and they can't score goals, what do coaches normally tell that striker to do? They tell that striker, work hard for the team, do the nitty gritty work, and find your own luck. This whole team needs to do that. They just need to work harder and work as a collective, and eventually things will change. But right now, I'm not seeing that application from the players, and that's what's concerning me going forward. It doesn't matter how talented you are, if you don't have the work ethic to work hard for each other and to run around the pitch and run the hard miles, we're not going to get anywhere. So, this comes from the manager or the coach, however you want to phrase Arne Slot. He needs to be the motivator in this squad, and I don't see it. Like I said it a few weeks ago, and I maybe have jumped the gun, but you know, I haven't been proven otherwise. I do feel like he's lost the dressing room. I don't feel like the players have connected with his ideas of playing this season. Like the tactics that's been deployed, I don't think they are fully on board, and that's why we don't seem, you know, don't seem like we've gelled together, and that is a concern for me. So hopefully, things change in the future. But right now, I have to be a bit hesitant going into this game. Excuse me. Bob, the comment says, I'm a bit tired of signing players in January. So has more than enough players to perform better than he has, make it work with what he has. I hear you. The Mark Gay one, that should have been wrapped up for me in the summer. And of course, I wasn't come back mentioned, it didn't happen due to Glasner and, you know, Steve Parish not missing his Pilates class. But I hear you. But let's just say the strongest rumors we're hearing right now are Semenyo and Mark Gay. Mark Gay was, he was supposed to sign in the summer. We needed another centre back, and we need another centre back even more so. Heck, I'll be a bit more selfish. I think we need two centre backs because Leone's out for another year, and once he does return, he's not going to play first team football straight away. He will need time to, make sure that he's fully healed, but also mentally as well. When you have such a big injury like that, you do step back a little bit in terms of overcommitting in training or when you do play competitive games. So there's a psychological kind of barrier that he needs to go through as well once he returns to full fitness. So I'm not expecting to see Leone this season at all. Next season, maybe play towards the latter stages, but we can't expect too much from him. So with that being the outlook right now, we kind of have to disregard him as a defensive option. So right now we have Virgil, Van Dijk, Ibu Konate, and Joe Gomez. And Slot made a comment about Joe Gomez today. He's only played two 90-minute games in 2025. But that's the coach's fault as well because this season Gomez has been fit, but he just hasn't been selected. So, but there's sort of two tails of the argument where I understand why Gomez hasn't played a lot of games this season due to his injury record, and we have to be a bit selective because if he plays and gets injured, we are screwed. We have no centre back options. So that's the concern there. And I'm not going to reach out to Reece Williams to say come on board. Unfortunately, it might have to be that case, but that's not what I want to see in our team. So yeah, that's the reason why Joe Gomez isn't being selected um, in the starting lineups. But we'll talk about him because unfortunately he we might not have a choice, and we might need to play Joe Gomez in upcoming games. Ozakar says hate the way Ferdinand just wants to clickbait and talk about the Salah and Mane rivalry. Yeah, do you know what? With Rio Ferdinand's content as well, I already saw the short clips that were the big talking points in regards to Liverpool. And I didn't really want to watch the full episode, but I watched it today. I thought, why not? You don't really get to hear much from Mane. Mane is a very quiet, very reserved character, and someone that doesn't want to be out in the media. So I hear it um, in terms of not wanting to be in the public eye. But yeah, it's very interesting to hear the things that he had, especially about Firmino and the Mohamed Salah one. I think he tried to make it into like oh he hates him, but what I found interesting was that after that Burnley moment, they actually became close as friends because he realized that it wasn't anything personal. It was just in that moment Salah just was tunnel vision, so he didn't really see Mane on the other side. And it happens when you're an attacker. It's how it goes. When you want to get goals, when you want to be that guy, you will have that streak of selfishness in front of goals. So yeah, I think he understood that. But yeah, it was a very interesting interview. If you haven't watched it, yeah, do check it out. But yeah, I think he tried to spark something there, but there was nothing there to be honest with you. Also, did you hear what Oxlade Chamberlain said about the games under Klopp? Can I think that they get the same feeling before games under Slot? I haven't seen. I know he's done an interview with. Oh, what's it? Is it? What's his name? Ben? Is it Ben Foster, the former United keeper? Right? Yeah. I haven't seen the. I've seen little snippets, but I do need to check out. So yeah, I've not had the time to watch that. But yeah, I do see. So what did Ox say? So yeah, both said that they would die for him, and they got the feeling they were going into war before every game. I think a lot of players have said that about Klopp. So I'm not surprised by that comment. Uh, and your point was like, can you see that under Slot? No, because he doesn't have that character. He's not that personality. But just because they don't respond to someone like that doesn't mean that a coach can't get the message through to the players to play a certain way. Let's not forget we won the title with this manager, so he certainly has some credentials. He certainly brought the best out of the players last season. It's just that we've completely you know we juggled the whole squad where we made a lot of changes, and as fans we get excited because we're seeing new players come in, and we had a lot to talk about in the summer. Let's be honest, in regards to transfers. But in hindsight, maybe we did too much too soon, and that's the concern because history will tell you that doesn't normally work when you make so many wholesale changes in one window. Remember when Tottenham sold Gareth Bale? They bought like 10 players to replace him, but they added more to the squad. it didn't work out. So you know, I Slot and Klopp are not the same. So let's get that out there. But he might still have a way of communicating to galvanize the squad and play for the coach and play for the badge and play for each other. You know, Klopp does it with his presence, his personality, his aura. There's different individuals there, but you can still get the best out of your players, and he did that last season. So why can't he do it right now? That would be my argument there. So yeah, hopefully Slot can turn around because it's not nice to say someone should get sacked, um, but he needs to show more because he is losing a lot of the section of the fan base. So it's something that things need to change, and we're in a business where everything's result driven. So if you're not getting the wins, unfortunately, your days could be numbered. Whether FSG see it that way, they're probably one of the owners that might be a bit patient. But let's say we lose back-to-back games, the noise you're gonna feel it. You're gonna you're gonna hear it amongst us in terms of the online community, but you'll hear it in the stadiums. You'll hear it from the crowd, and it'll be a complete different shift of opinions from the fans. And when you've lost the fans, and you may even potentially lose the dressing room completely, the writing's on the wall, unfortunately. So I'm not wanting that. I'm not, predicting that. I would love for Slot to turn it around, but he hasn't shown me much to suggest that it will be turned around. So hopefully this is the game that I'm like, you know what? I see what Slot's doing, but we'll have to wait and see. Ozagawa says worst case scenario if Joe gets injured in training, like he did for the England training camp. Remember that was the yep, I do remember that, and that messed up our season. So yeah, look, if a player gets injured in training, that's something that you can't you can't control that, right? But if you select the player to play in the team and then he gets injured, then you take a bit of accountability. So look, if he gets injured in training, then we definitely decide two centre backs in the January window. Let's not beat around the bush. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. We'll talk about Joe Gomez and the other players in regards to team news. Ahmed, big up Ahmed said, big up Ozzy. Have how you been? Hope you're doing well. When are you going to get on Born and Red? You deserve it. Big up Mirali. I hope you're doing well. I've had discussions with the guys at Born and Red. So yeah, hopefully we'll do some content very soon. Yeah, hopefully something down the pipeline. So yeah, just look out for that in the near future. And then I was I'm saying to Ozan, big up my goat, and then returning the message there. Ready for another roller coaster on Sunday. Phew. Yeah, let's see. The game's tomorrow. If we lose, then boy, the match reaction will be interesting. Let's see how it goes. But let's talk about the team news. Let's get into it. So a lot was presented, a lot was revealed today in terms of our current squad status. So Robertson didn't train yesterday for private reasons, which was what Arne Slot mentioned. Um, but he would have trained today, so you would expect him to be an option for tomorrow. Allison, which is positive news, has trained with the team since last week, and he's of course trained this week, so he should be in contention to start. I think he's going to go straight in the lineup. Personally, I know a lot of fans have said maybe easy men and play Mamadashvili first, but history will tell you whenever the number one choice keeper is fit and ready, Slot will start him. He did it for Feyenoord, he does it at Liverpool as well, so he will be starting against Forest. But this is where the shocking news came. Conor Bradley and Florian Wirtz are unable to play as they both picked up muscle injuries during their internationals. Conor Bradley is out for 22 days, and he said 22 days in specific because we've got 7 games in that period, which is, yeah, crazy to say out loud, but that is the reality. And Florian Wirtz didn't give a timeline. I think he did that not to put too much pressure on the player returning, but he said not too long. So hopefully that's a week or two. That's what I'd expect him. So then people thinking, oh, all right, Frimpong should be available because in terms of the time frame when he was first injured, we're hearing 4 to 6 weeks, and that would have actually, equal to this week of him being available. But Slot said that no, he's out for another further 2 to 3 weeks. So the big question is who starts at right back now. If you look at our games this season, the obvious choice would be Soboslai. He's played there a few times and he's performed at a very, very high level there. But for me, he's been doing sensational stuff in midfield, and we can't lose his presence because right now he is the midfield. Let's not be around the bush. So uh, I don't think it's even an option to put him at right back. I think we got to look elsewhere and find another solution. Joe Gomez, we've been by quite a lot today. He's an option. But like I said earlier in the show, 290 minutes in 2025, and he's lacking match fitness, lacking um, any rhythm. But he would be a risk as well because if we was to play and he got injured, then we've got no sensible option. So although he would be the logical choice, as he's predominantly played right back in his career, unfortunately, we have to be a bit more strategic with that. And this will be a tough battle for him because Forest are a very physical team. And if he gets involved in any duels or if he picks up a muscle strain or anything like that, we've got one less option, which is not something that you want. Um, Curtis Jones has played right back before, so he's definitely a viable option. Calvin Ramsey, who was the forgotten man at one point, has come to life. He produced a decent performance against Palace in the Carabao Cup, although we lost. But he could have an outside chance of being involved in this game. So that's something to consider. And we'll go through the lineup and see who I think will start for Liverpool in the back four. But in terms of Nottingham Forest, Chris Wood, Zinchenko, Bakwa, Ola Aina, Douglas Luiz, and Angus Gunn are missing alongside former red striker, even though he didn't play a professional game for us. I mean, Tyrell Awoniyi, who's out of action. Callum Hudson-Odoi trained with the squad, so he could be up for team selection. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. So let's go and move on and predict the lineups for this match. Uh, we will go with the away team. We'll go with them first, and then we'll speak about Liverpool in more detail. I'm not sure what this window is here, but yeah, bit annoying. Uh, so in goal, it will be Sales. I'm not expecting that to be any different. And then we've got. I can't get rid of this one. Okay. And we've our right back will be Savona. He's the one that's played there predominantly this season. Then you've got Nico Williams, former Liverpool player, of course. At left back, and you've got Murillo. And then you've got uh, Milenkovic as well. So that's your backline, very strong backline, to be honest with you. The double pivot will be Sangare, who's performed really well, scored the other day against Leeds United. He'll be starting, in my opinion, alongside Elliot Anderson, who's been phenomenal for Nottingham Forest. And Thomas saw, I'm really looking forward to seeing how he performs against us because he has been linked to a move to Liverpool. So he, he's definitely a viable option. And, he's a player that can play in that double pivot, can play a bit more further up, I feel like he's produced a new level. At Newcastle, he showed great potential, but I feel like he's up to level, and his technical game I feel like has risen up as well. He has a great engine, has a great passing range. He can shoot. He can get stuck in as well. So he's the complete midfielder right now. So he's definitely a player to look out for. Um, could be a Liverpool option in the future. You never know. Now, in terms of up top, I think it'll be Ndoye, very talented player that they signed from Bologna. Gibbs White, who unfortunately is on a death row contract, if you remember his moment in pre-season where standing alongside the owner looked like he had a gun pointed towards him. Um, didn't look like he wanted to be there, but unfortunately he is for his own self. And I think they will start with Hudson Odoi. Um, if he's trained, if he's fit, I think they'll go with him. Especially with our right back issues, I think they're going to go a bit more direct on us. So I think Hudson Odoi will start, and then up top, it would have been Chris Wood, but he's not available. So they're going to go for Igor Jesus. So that is my predicted for his lineup. So drop a comment and let me know what you guys think. In terms of the danger man, if this is the lineup, the concerns of the two wide players. Endoy, he's probably not scored a lot of goals this season, but he's very, very direct. I've seen him play for Bologna, really, really good campaigns, especially in the last couple of years, been really good there. Um, he can cut inside and score goals. Hudson Odoi, we already know what he's capable of, scoring a win against us last season, although it was at their stadium. But he is going to, present a torrid time for whoever starts at right back because right now on paper we don't have an orthodox right back in our squad. So those two are going to be the danger men. Gibbs White, he's a player that's going to be the creative spark. He's going to roam around, and he's very good in terms of the final third as well. So those three definitely. Igor Jesus, he'll be a physical presence. Um, in terms of goal scoring ability, I don't know. If the defenders can deal with his physical presence, then we should be fine. But you know, one thing that we have struggled with is with set pieces. So if he gets onto a few headers, it's curtains for us as well. So yeah, we're not looking good in that regards. And then you've got Anderson, who I feel like he's definitely not just Anderson and Sangare. That's a an interesting duo there. And with our midfield being quite you know lightweight, not willing to battle, for me that's a concern. If we lose that midfield battle, we've given them the upper hand. So I'm very concerned going into this game. I don't mean to sound like a bit of a downer here, but unfortunately, Liverpool haven't really given us much to cheer about right now. So that's how I'm viewing it at the minute. Um, let's move on and do the Liverpool lineup. So I think Alisson will start in this game. I'm not saying Maladashvili doesn't deserve it or he's been woeful or anything to that nature. Um, I think we have missed Alisson's presence in that back line, and history will tell you that Arne Slot always starts Alisson whenever he's fit. As soon as he's fit, he's right in the team straight away. He's not going to be doing the hard yards. He's not an actual player. So if he's fully fit from a goalkeeping standpoint, then he's going to start. So I think Alisson will be starting this fixture. Let's go from left to right. The left back is not even like a full-on conclusion because Perkins, of course, dealt with a heartbreak as his nation, Hungary, were not able to qualify for the World Cup. So you got to see where his head is at right now. Robertson, he managed to qualify with Scotland, but you know he was quite emotional after the game, and he didn't train yesterday for private reasons. So I'm not going to you know speculate as to what it was or why he wasn't there. So maybe he's not in the right space to start, even though he did train today, I believe. So I might give it to Kirkes in this game. Um, if Robertson's available, but my choice would be Robertson if he is fully fit. Van Dijk, Canate, no real debate. So the only sensible options we have. Right back, who are we gonna go for? For me, I would go for Curtis Jones. Um, I think we need to try and utilize his passing ability from our defense because that's something we've lacked this season. We've lacked build up playing from the back, and with him in the team there, he can definitely help out with that. Defensively, decent in one on ones, but I'm not expecting him to produce a worldy right back performance in this game. But I still feel like he can definitely, produce an imprint of his own and help us in this game. So I'm going to have Curtis Jones. Uh, I don't think Joe Gomez would be trusted due to his injury record. Um, Although on paper it should probably be Joe Gomez, but I think Jones would be the right choice in my opinion. Calvin Ramsey is a shout, but the thing is, Calvin Ramsey hasn't played Premier League football, so I think it's a big of a task to do that. Having said that, if Jones is struggling, then I would bring on Calvin Ramsey in the second half. Bring on a player that has a bit of familiarity, but also, if he was to play 20 minutes, it's a different prospect rather than starting a game because starting a game, I feel like you have to be mentally ready to do that. And I don't know if he's in that space right now. And suppose that right back is not an option for me at all. It's not an option, especially with no Florian Wirtz in this team. So it's not even a conversation start for me. So for me, Jones is my preferred choice. Um, and right back in terms of double pivot, reluctantly, and I don't mean to be disrespectful when I say it, I'm gonna have to add McAllister there because we don't have a lot of viable options. I know we have Endo, but of course Endo has limitations in terms of what he can bring to the table from a passing point of view, and we need creativity from our midfield. So I'm gonna go with McAllister, even though he had a shocker against Argentina. I didn't watch the game, but I read afterwards that it's one of the worst performances they've seen from an Argentine player in recent times. That's a concern, isn't it, going into this game? But fortunately, guys, we don't really have much choice. Gonna go with Gravenberch and Szoboszlai in that advanced midfield role. On the right, Mohamed Salah, of course. On the left, you'd assume it'd be Cody Gakpo. And Slot didn't really give an update in regards to Alexander Isak. He was asked about it, but he didn't give a clear answer. So I don't really know what to make of that. I know he was involved with the Sweden game. I don't think he played in the last game, but I think he was involved in the earlier game. So he's clearly fit to an extent. I'll be very surprised if he starts this one. Honestly, I know we need to play him to gain that match fitness, but I'm thinking about the team and I want the team to get some points. And I feel like we've already got a striker there that is in good form right now. So I will start Ekitike with the prospect of having Isak come on in the second half. That's what I would do going into this game. So this is my predicted lineup. Feel free to drop a comment and let me know what you guys think. Um, let's go through some of the comments here. Amit says, no, not really. Ozan, I'm scared of Mako. Anderson is going to eat my live. Yep. That is my concern as well. That's why I said I'm very concerned of us facing Anderson and Sangare as a double pivot because yeah, that's a difficult opposition there. And when your midfield's already lackluster, it's even bigger mountain to climb. So yeah, concerned. The new Steve says Van Dijk needs to galvanize the squad. He's too chill as a captain. I think that's just his personality. So we assume that he's too chilled, but I definitely feel like he will definitely have some sort of influence in that manner. Remember, he was the one that brought the players together before the Villa game, and that helped us in that regard. So he might have to do that more often than not. I would say I'm scared of their long balls. They're a physical team. They are. They are a physical team. Also, hopefully Mackay is not going to play based on performance. No, he shouldn't be around the squad. But unfortunately, we don't really have much of an option. After McAllister, it's Endo, and after Endo, who else is there? There's no one else, is there? Give me an update, guys. Is Basic available? Because I always feel like the guy's forever injured. So he's just as effective as Arta Melo that we had a few years ago. So for me, it's a lot of people mention his name, but he's not there. He's a hologram for me right now. So yeah, he's not a viable option. So we don't have too many midfield options right now, unfortunately. What we do, we have Jones, but I need Jones at right back, to be fair. Amir says, I feel bad for Bradley. He's gone so injury prone. I think we may need a right back next summer. I think so as well. Yeah, it's going to be like he's very talented. Of course, that performance against Vinicius Junior was spectacular, but he's not just gone injury prone. He was injury prone last season as well. So the only difference was that he was second choice to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and that's why he wasn't heavily involved in the game. But this was the season for him to stake a claim and be that guy. But he's he will play a couple of good games and then injured again. Kind of similar to Jones a few years ago, where he'd play a couple of games and then he'll pick up an injury, and you lost momentum, you lost a bit of rhythm. So if this continues this way, then it is something that needs to be addressed next summer. If you were to ask me a name for a right back, the right back that I really like is the one from Feyenoord, Gubario Reed, and I read today that Man City want to sign him. So we might be out of the picture there in regards to the running of signing him. So he's a player that for me is a complete defender. Young, very young, but has the potential to be one of the best in the world, in my opinion. Uh, this is Bo's lineup. So he's gone for Ali, Gomez, Ibu, Virgil, Robbo, Graf, Jones, Szoboszlai, Chiesa, Ekitike, and Salah. It's not a bad shout, to be fair. I would put Gomez in as well, but I don't think Slot will, personally, based on the comments that came out today. Robbo, yeah, I would put Robbo in, but I just have a feeling it might be Kirk based on Robbo not being around the squad for the past couple of days. So then you've gone for Kiers on the left, yeah. I hear that. I've been saying Kiers on the left. So yeah, this is what I think will happen. But yeah, I would like to see Kiers on the left hand side as well. But I think it will be Gakpo, and yeah, I think Ekitike will start as well. Obviously, I feel Gomez is going to start against PSV. I'd rather he start this game than the PSV one. The PSV one doesn't really give me any hope, or when I say hope, I don't mean that. I see the next game more important than the PSV game because I, I think Forest are a tougher opposition than PSV. I'm not saying PSV are terrible or anything like that, but we have to take it one game at a time. And Forest is a team that we've struggled against, especially under Arne Slot. So if that is the thinking, then I'd want that to reverse. And then, in fact, Joe Gomez is starting this fixture. Um, we'll see. We'll see. Right now, I get the feeling that Jones will start. I would probably go with Jones, and then I wouldn't even start Gomez against PSV. For me, he stays on the bench, and this becomes a bit of our emergency cover until January arrives. I've got 5 weeks, so hopefully we can hold on, and fingers crossed and touch wood. We're not getting any injuries by then. So just wrap him up, Cornwall, and then get our new centre back, and then take it from there. Bo says Gomez or Jones are right back. Please no, so Bo, totally agree. Jones or Joe Gomez, no other option at all. Ozan with his sign language gone for Mamadashvili, Kirkes, Van Dijk, Konate, Curtis Jones at right back. Fair enough. Grab, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Isak, Ekitike, and Mo Salah. So you've got Ekitike on the left. I'm not mad at that. That would be quite a nice one to see. Um, yeah, we need to see both of them in the lineup. So if it's a front three, let's see how that works. Front two will give me more sort of confident going into it, but don't really have we don't have Verts to play that sort of that number 10 role. I suppose that I could do that as well. Drew Steve says McAllister has been so bad that his brother at St. July is preferred over him in the national team. Yeah, that's mad. Because he got the first call up, didn't he? So other commentators, Stefan Bajtic is back. Okay. Yeah, but Bo said he didn't train though. Okay, fine. And Bo said the PSV game is not important. Yeah, it's not. Premier League is important right now. Um, if I had to choose to win this game or the PSV one, 100% it has to be this game. This game is far too important that we can, disregard what's going to happen in the future. Because if we lose this one, fortunately, Arne Slot is getting closer to the exit door. That's how I'm seeing it. It's not nice to say out loud, but unfortunately, that is the case. So it's a very, very important game for us. If we lose against PSV, we'd be annoyed. Don't get me wrong, but it could still heighten, him, losing the fan base. But I think this game it'd be even more so. And with it being Forest and with it being a Sean Dyche team, if we can get past, the coach that loves to deploy this tactic, then we're heading towards the right direction. If not, he doesn't have the facility. That's how it's going to be viewed, unfortunately. So let's see how it goes. Other than saying, when is this kid gonna be ready? FFS, I don't know. Bo says next season it has been rumored. Listen, if it's next season, right? I'll be honest with you, I want him sold in the summer. I don't want to play like that in my squad. That is just a mystery, you know. I don't want that. I'm gonna start calling this guy Mysterio because that is literally what he is. He's a mystery. Like he's never available. His name is there, but he's just not available. So the Lucy said, "We're not the NHS. We're not. We're not the NHS. I don't need mystery in my squad. I don't need someone who's, you know, with the medics all the time. I need someone available. So I agree with you, Steve. We can't have him like that. He can't always be able to retain this player. No. Of course, it's harder to sell a player when he's not fit. But let's say, Bo's comment is correct and he's ready for next season. That means he should be, you know, closer to full fitness, and therefore you are able to sell him. And he will have interest from La Liga based on his loan spell at Las Palmas. So for me, yeah, I sell him. I know a lot of fans really rate him, but I think he just shined when he had that brief spell at Liverpool when we were really, really bad. And he stood out from a bad crowd, basically. That's how I'm seeing it. So might be harsh, but that's just my thoughts on the player. Um, Artemella just the actor to listen. He's Artemella 2.0. That's what I'm viewing him right now. Bo is going with a 1-1 draw. I respect that. I really do. I know I've been a bit of a downer during the show, but I'm gonna be slightly more positive. I'm trying to give that energy to the universe now. I say Liverpool nick a win, and I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory for the Reds. The goal scorers, I'm going to go for Ekitike and Salah, and the consolation goal will be scored by Morgan Gibbs White for Nottingham Forest. So that is my score prediction. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know what you think the score will be. And then, yeah, let's see how it pans out for us tomorrow. Bo's giving his prediction saying Van Dijk header in 88 to get 1-1. Oh, that means we were trailing for most of the game. That would feel like a defeat, though. Let's be honest. It would feel like a defeat if that was the case. Um, will I be happy? No. No, we were 1-1. Of course, it's better than losing, in the obvious sense, but I don't know. I don't know. With it being at Anfield as well, I'm expecting a win. If this was at their ground and we got a draw, I actually wouldn't be too mad about that, if I'm being honest with you. I think, you know what, it's a tough ground. But last year we lost there, so improvement, if we get the 1-1 draw there. But with it being at Anfield, no, we have to get the win. We have to. We have to. A draw feels like a loss to me. That's the standards that have been set by this club. So no, I wouldn't be happy with that, to be fair. Ducey says since Melo left us, he's played 4 seasons for Fiorentina and Gremio as yeah, that's wild, isn't it? It might just be, the rigorous training regime that we have in at Liverpool because it's always been high press, especially under Klopp. You know, I think Bo mentioned the Oxlade Chamberlain interview. So I saw a snippet where he mentioned that every training ground or every training session, sorry, was like playing a match. Like it was played at a very, very intense level. So much so that he felt the full effect when he joined Liverpool. Because remember, we signed him on transfer deadline day. He already played at Arsenal a few games into the season. And from what I remember, he was actually playing right back because they didn't have a viable option at the time. And he said that I was fully fit for Arsenal. I was playing games, I had a great preseason. But when I joined Liverpool, he said that it was a different level of training, like really high intensity. It wasn't about the tactical aspect of the opponent. It was just making sure that we were a difficult team to play against. That was the Jurgen Klopp philosophy. And he was saying he was feeling his hamstring and all sorts in the opening weeks, and it took him a while to get used to playing at that level. And eventually, his opening season, he was really good for us. Unfortunately, picked up that injury in the Champions League, and that unfortunately affected his Liverpool career going forward. But it showed how he embedded into the team in terms of how we did training. So for some players, this doesn't suit them. He's come from Italy, where it's probably not played. Training is not that intense in Italy, although I know they're very professional there. Um, from interviews that I've watched, I know Patrice ever mentioned that Juventus, like it's a different level of training in comparison to England. Um, so every club will be different in that regards, but yeah, for him to have 4 seasons and not be unavailable, it's just it wasn't meant to be, was it? I was gonna say now 3 points is a must. I agree. 1-1 is not acceptable according to Bo. Yeah, I agree with both of you. I'm not saying it is, but I was just saying that if this was at Forest, where it was an away game, first game after the international break, I wouldn't be satisfied. But okay, fine. Like, but the next game, like, it will be that kind of attitude. But no, it's at Anfield. We have to win. There's no other choice, unfortunately. I was just saying, more fans are going to turn on Slot if we drop points at Anfield. I hear it. I hear it. If we lose, I might be one of them. I might be one of them. I'm only like, I'm not trying to be on the fence as well. Like you guys know, I'm very honest in terms of my opinions, but I'm only reserved based on what he did last season. And maybe I'm giving him a bit too much respect for that. So that's why I'm not completely slot out. But if I had a meter and says like my slot in or slot out, I'm close to that right now, basically. Just because you can't continue the season on merit. And I feel like that's what's holding me on right now. If we didn't win the league title last year, and let's say we finish outside of Champions League, he would have been sacked by now. He really would have. Because then it would be assumed that maybe he's not equipped for this job. So I don't know. I don't know, guys. Bo says, why is players like Salah never injured, but Bradley always is? Makes no sense. we're all different, aren't we? So I don't really know what to say to that. Salah is, he's very, very sort of particular in terms of how he looks after himself, how he takes care of his body in terms of dietary and all that sort of stuff. So that certainly plays a part. But in general, it might just be some people aren't able to compete at a certain level, or their body aren't equipped to play in such intense manner, and that's the difference there. So he's just not strong enough. I don't know. It's genetics. It's things like that. Um, otherwise we all be professional, I guess. But yeah, that is how it is, I guess. Um, I was gonna say I'm worried about Connor. Not gonna lie, he seems to be a fragile lad. Yeah. How old is Connor Bradley? Is he 23? That the kind of age? 22. Yeah, so he's not growing anymore, is he? So normally when you're like a teenager, you do go through those growing spurts and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, he's gone past that stage now, so I can't really, I really use that as a defense for him. But yeah, he does seem to be quite injury prone, so that is a concern going forward, unfortunately. But also, did you see that Slot said Sobo is used to lose games this season, so that he lost with Hungary is not new to him? Did he say that? Nah, I'm gonna have to watch that. Was that in the press conference today? I'm gonna have to rewatch that. That's wild if you said that. Steve said, "Man, said I might be one of them." Listen, when I've made a choice, like that's me. I'm not reversing. So if I'm slot out, I'm slot out 100%. So I'm almost there. I know you're. I think you're already there, Steve, aren't you? But I'm close enough. I'm close enough. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he brought us the league title last year. So that's what I'm holding on to right now. Uh, yeah. Other than Salah's genetics are just a freak. Yeah, 33 are still chiseled out of marble. Yeah, it's just genetics, man. We just everyone's built different, isn't it? So we're not all the same, in terms of physique and genetics, all that sort of stuff. We're all different. So some people can handle it, some people can't. It's just how it goes. And then, oh yes, same probably genetic. Yes, that's a crap joke from Slot. Yeah, it sounds like a dad joke, isn't it? But yeah, I think he's trying to be sarcastic there. It just didn't sound right. He said that 100% sure. Yeah, I'll have to watch it again. I'll have to watch it again. That's a bit annoying if he says silly things like there's a time and place for jokes. That was not at the time. But yeah, that's Arne Slot for you. I feel like he says things, when he shouldn't really say things. Just keep it to yourself. But when someone's that open, that's just how they are. That's just their character. That's just their personality. So yeah, it is what it is. So before we close the show, I've got a few rumors to talk about. So let's go. What do you put it? This picture made me chuckle. I saw this earlier on today. I thought it looks like it's held for ransom there, isn't it? So let's move on. Anthony Antoine Semenyo, that is the player. So current rumor is that Liverpool have held positive talks with Bournemouth over a proposed move to Anfield for the 25-year-old, and according to this source, Semenyo's preferred destination is Liverpool. So my thoughts, um, I'm all on board. Um, if you guys haven't seen my last couple of shows, um, 65 million pound is the fee. Yeah, it's a big chunk of money. Don't get me wrong, but I number one, it's not my money, so I'm not going to think too hard about it. But I think secondly, what does this player bring to the table? For me, he'll give us something different. And let's look at the summer that we just had. Number one, we haven't replaced Luis Diaz. We haven't replaced that type of profile in our squad. And that's been quite evident in the way we've played. We've got two players in Gakpo and Salah who, on paper, are playing as wingers, but the application isn't like a winger. Salah is cutting in; he's being more of a creative sort of player, whereas Gakpo, unfortunately, he's cutting in and trying to be the attacking outlet by shooting from distance, and he's not getting many goals from that role. So he's been very predictable, and he's not really utilizing his fullback on that left hand side. Whereas Salah, he's been more of a creative spark rather than being a goal scorer this season. So looking at our squad, we don't really have a player that can come in and take the fullback on. Luis Diaz was able to do that. He was the player in our team that did that last season, where he was able to go past two, three players. Uh, and when you've got a player like that in your team, it creates spaces in the final third, and that hopefully helps you create goal scoring opportunities. We're not doing that. We're not stretching teams right now, and we're so predictable in our play that it's very easy to defend against Liverpool. The games that we've won this season, they've been moments of brilliance in the latter stages, or we've pressed. And I'm talking about the Villa and the Real Madrid game. Other than that, we haven't really pressed as a team. And what Semenyo brings you is that element of the game where he is very good on the press. He's both-footed. That makes him a unique profile. And when I say both-footed, of course, when you're a professional football player, you should be able to kick with both feet. But he's both-footed in the context where he's just as good on both feet. So you get certain players that predominantly like to play on the left, and when you shift them to the right, they're ineffective. He's not that type of player. He's effective on both sides of the flank. So for me, you know, looking at the short to long term, if he was to sign for Liverpool, me personally, I think he gets ahead of Gakpo and is our left winger. And then you have Salah on the right hand side. But next season it could be that argument where who knows, Salah might not be here next season. Do we go out and buy an Elise, who of course you guys will know is my dream signing, or do we just put Semenyo there? The latter seems like the more realistic option because Semenyo, Elise would cost about, if you believe the rumors, 170 million, which we're not paying that kind of price. So, well, you never know. Apparently, FSG are willing to spend big in January as well. That's what we've heard this week. So you never know. But I think we need a player like Semenyo in our team. And I know it's funny because it's like we're not playing really well. We're leaking goals. We can't defend set pieces. Why are we going for attacker? Fortunately, we're not attacking as a team as well. We're very poor in the final third. So number one, we haven't replaced Luis Diaz, so that needs to be addressed. And if a player like Semenyo is available in the market for around 65 million, then so be it. Also, there's a lot of competition for him as well. Arsenal, Chelsea, and Man United are the teams I believe that are linked with him. So if he was to join one of those teams, you'd hope it to be Liverpool. And if he doesn't join, apparently his release clause reduces next summer to 50 million. But he's been one of the most performing wingers in the league. I think he's second to Haaland in terms of top goal scorers. So with that said, you have to really look at the market and think, if we sign him, is he going to make a difference? I think Semenyo will. I think he'll be very direct in his play. His shooting is very good. With both feet, he's got real power. And, we've seen that, firsthand in terms of how he's performed against us over the years. He's at a good age, 25 years old. What I think he will actually improve us is actually having an attacking player that is a team player. When I say that, he's going to work hard for the team. He's going to kind of do what Mane did. I know we spoke about Mane earlier in the show. He's going to be that type of player where he's going to work hard for the fullback, and he's going to make it very difficult for the opponents to attack on that side of the pitch. So for me, I'll be very, very happy with the signing of Semenyo. Could not care less about the transfer fee. That's not my territory. That's not my concern. That's FSG to do. But if that is a profile, then I think that's a very, very smart signing. So it looks like he is heading our way. My gut instinct is telling me he will join Liverpool. So yeah, only time will tell, if he is the player that we sign. And if he is the player that we sign, please do it in the first week of January. We need him more so than not, because Salah would be in AFCON. The AFCON starts earlier this year. I believe it starts mid-December. I'm just going to double check to give you the accurate. So the opening game starts on the 21st of December. So Salah would have left before that. So our fixtures, let's have a look. His last game potentially would have been Brighton because we play Tottenham on the 20th of December. I don't think he will stay in and go to Africa the next day. So Brighton will be the last fixture. So hopefully, we can do the work now, get the talks done, get the agreement ready, and he is a new signing for the opening week of the transfer window. So that's what I would want to see. So yeah, let's see what happens going forward. Uh, just gonna go through some of the comments before we speak about the next rumor. Um, Asim from being a big up. Asim says like and subscribe. People big up. So Asim, I hope you're doing well. Appreciate your support there. Delily Steve says Slot needs to get it right. Bottom line, Ozzy. Facts. He needs to get it right. I'll be honest with you. Time is running out. If he doesn't get any wins, if we continue to lose consecutive games, he needs to be sacked. And I'm not. I don't really want that to be the case because number one, I'm not trying to put that narrative that I want someone to be sacked. But in footballing terms, it's not good enough for Liverpool. We can't be champions and losing back-to-back games like that. Last season, we only lost a few games in the league. This is not acceptable. This is actually relegation form. Let's not kill ourselves. This is what you're expecting your newly promoted teams to play. Six defeats out of 7 games. That is what you expect. Not for Liverpool. No, that is not acceptable. So he needs to switch it up. And I feel like he's not changing. Like he's not doing much. He did the whole 4-4-2 thing against Frankfurt and went back to 4-2-3-1, and that worked for that day. Why not, prolong that a little bit more? And also, in terms of Florian Wirtz, and some of you will laugh because you say I'm the worst defense league here, but for a player that has been renowned to be one of the best number 10s in the world, why is he being played all over the shop? Why is he playing on the left, on the right, number 10, false nine? Like, he was supposed to be the player that we built around. In that kind of formation, the number 10 is the player that you build around. So why did we not do that? Maybe I don't think he was a slot signing. If I'm being brutally honest, I don't think he was. I think when that was proposed to him, Slot, so I was like, oh yeah, do you know what? That's exciting. And it's weird to say out loud because I know Slot gave him a presentation, all that kind of thing. But that would have been done in collaboration with Richard Hughes because they would have brought the data and the metrics, all that sort of stuff. But I don't know, it's just something that doesn't feel right to me. I don't know what it is. Maybe Slot is just, out of his depth. That could also be a point there. Maybe he thought he could have, you know, brought in Verts and really changed the way he wanted the team to play. But the team just haven't really got to grips to his tactics, or it's just not working, or too much has been done too soon. You know, a number of these points as a collective will make sense. So it's not just one reason as to why we've not done well so far. But that's a concern. It really is going forward. Boss asking my G, big up to Bo. Um, I was saying Lucho, by the way, Aussie, 11 goals and 6 assists so far this season. Look, the way he's playing right now, it's annoying. It's annoying because number one, I didn't want to sell him. I really wanted him to stay this year. We hadn't even signed Isak, but I was already thinking, having Isak and having Diaz on the left, I feel like it would have really worked. Um, Now he's playing the form of his life. Like he looks like a different kettle of fish. Ballon d'Or form. Like that's the kind of level he's playing right now. So yeah, it's so frustrating, isn't it? So frustrating. Uh, Boss, the problem is not the players, but the system. I feel like for me, new signs will not help at all. Yeah, it's a combination of the two. I think, you know, especially under Jurgen Klopp, when we look back, we know why we were successful because of the philosophy, but then also Klopp finding the right players to play in the right position. They weren't wholesale names, but they were players that had the right skill sets and they were able to merge and play together. They formed good partnerships. You know, your left back and your left winger, your right back and your right winger. They formed a good partnership, and then across the pitch, it felt like that as well. So it is about forming those kind of partnerships in your team, and we don't have that. Salah said out loud a few times he doesn't know how to work with Ekitike or Isak. Probably more Ekitike because obviously Isak's not played that much, but Ekitike is a different type of player because he's not one dimensional. With Nunes, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but he was one dimensional. He was on the shoulder, playing on the last man, trying to get on the end of the ball and trying to score. Like we knew his game. That's why Salah would always clip the ball over the defense to try and find Darwin Nunes. And of course, he'll chase for the ball and all that sort of stuff. But with Ekatike, he's got a bit more to his locker. He likes to drop deep. He likes to be a bit more on the front foot. So it's a different skill set that's going for him. So when Salah wants him to be a bit more ahead, he's dropping deep. So he's not finding the chemistry is not there. Basically, it's not there between the two, and that comes with more game time and getting to know each other and training together, all that sort of stuff. So eventually it'll click, but when your team is not getting the results, the the microscope is on you even further. So that's the issue right now. Bo says get Ozzy on the channel. Ask him. I'm sure Ask him. We'll, we'll do some shows together. I'm sure in the near future. So yeah, definitely something in the pipeline. I'm sure, and I'll try and get the guys to come on our channel here as well. So yeah, hopefully we'll do some work in the future. Bo says for me, Semenyo is more like a top player than Slot. I hear you. I feel like he is a clock player as well. Um, but that's another discussion, I guess. But yeah, I hear you. Um, but we might need that. We might need that type of player in this team because on the left it's not working. So you are right, but I feel like he can definitely be a slot player as well. If slot goes back to the way we played last year, that's how I'm seeing it. Because Diaz worked last year in the slot, so that is my blueprint in my head that it can work with Semenyo as well. Toulouse Steve says John Henry won't open his wallet the same way as this past summer. No, I don't expect that to be the case. Um, if it is Semenyo, then obviously 65 million there. Um, and if it's another centre back, depending who it is, but I don't know how much we spend on a centre back. So yeah, it won't be as big as the summer, of course. It's not going to be that kind of range. I don't know if we even have the facility to do that, but yeah, let's see what happens in the January window. Boston would Norway to win the World Cup be the biggest shock in football history, Ozzy? Yes, it would be. I know they've got some talented players, but if they were to win the World Cup, oh yeah, by far. And definitely to the World Cup. I think so. I think that'll be the biggest shock. I remember Greece winning the Euros all those years ago. That was a big shock. Yeah, I think so. They are talented. They've got some talented players, but no, that would be a big shock, I think. Bo says Kieran would be the perfect cup player. He would run his heart out every game and he would actually get more in many games. Yeah, I agree with you, Bo. I really do. Uh, Next rumor, more gay. So no real sort of concrete update. There seems to be more sort of momentum going towards that Semenyo rumor. In regards to Margay, Crystal Palace believe Liverpool are the only club interested in signing the centre back in the January window. As we all know, his contract expires at the end of the season and he's free to sign a pre-contract agreement with any club outside of England. Some of the clubs I've been linked with are Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, and Barcelona. So my thoughts on this. I would love Marque to be a Liverpool player. I just don't know if it'll be January. I don't know. There's something telling me that it might not happen. I don't know why. I don't really have an explanation for it. Could he be a player for us next summer? I can't even say that very convincingly. I think he could be swayed to move abroad. I can see like a Bayern, like him joining a Bayern Munich, for example. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I feel like the Liverpool rumors are. I feel like it's dead in the water. I don't feel like we're gonna go back for Mark Gay, which is a shame because I do rate him. I think he's a very talented player, and I feel like he ticks a lot of boxes for us. I think Liverpool might have moved on. That's just the feeling I get. But what I will say is we do need a defender in January. So if it's not Mark Gay, it's got to be someone else. So, we've been linked with Schlotterbeck, who I think would be a fantastic signing for us. We've been linked to Bastoni. That's a pipeline dream. And if it was to occur, it wouldn't be in January. Um, so I don't know. I'm not sure about this one. I don't see it happening. And if it is one of the foreign clubs, then we'll get news in January that he signed a pre-contract agreement. I think that will be quite evident as well. So normally you don't get that kind of announcement, but I think Palace fans know he's leaving. So I don't think it disrupts their season. And I don't think they would sell him this window. And the reason I say they won't sell him is because they would think that they have a decent chance of winning the Conference League. So they can only win that with Mark Gay in the team. And of course, they'd want to keep him because if they were to sell him in January, replacements might not be easy to find. And secondly, it could impact their Premier League campaign as well. So they already missed out on getting a paycheck in the summer. Now, if Liverpool were to come in and bid a similar kind of fee, which would be stupid, by the way, I don't think it should be anywhere near that. I remember I said it after the deadline day was closed. Like bid 10 million in January. Like that's what they deserve. They don't deserve more than 10 million, in my opinion. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But if you were to ask me in terms of my gut feeling, I don't see it happening. I don't see him being a Liverpool player either. I think we might pursue other targets, but let's see. Let's see how it goes. Bo, the comments is okay, he has to join. He basically was a Liverpool player. I hear you, Bo. I don't know. I feel like because of the way that moved fell apart, maybe this is just pride. I don't know. But maybe Liverpool feel like, we don't want to deal with them in the next window. It might put them off until they're doing business with Crystal Palace. It's happened with other clubs in the past, or when we've tried to sign certain players, but then we realize they're linked with certain agents that we don't have good relationships with. So it does play a factor with potential signings. I hope I'm wrong. I think we do need Margay. I think we need two centre backs, to be honest with you. Bring me Bastoni and Margay, and I'll be over the moon. But I don't know. I just don't. I'm just not getting a positive feeling. But I hope I'm wrong. Let's say that. I hope I'm wrong in this one. Ozan says, last question, Ozzy. Do you think we can salvage the season with a trophy? If so, which trophy? Oh, looking at our squad, as silly as it might sound, Champions League. Because I feel like we have the players that can play to the European game. When Florian Wirtz has played in Champions League, he's looked like not completely himself, but has played his better performances in the Champions League. And I feel like we've got players that are a bit more equipped for that competition in terms of different style of play. Not every Champions League team is going to play a low block, so it suits us when teams are playing actual football. Um, no digs at any team, but that's just how I'm seeing it. So yeah, I would say Champions League, but we've got a lot to do to get into that frame. So Louis Steve agrees. He says that as well. And he said, Bo says no trophy this season. Yeah, I hear it. Like if we can try and win some silverware, I see it being the Champions League. The FA Cup, I it may come across as a distraction for me in terms of playing the FA Cup because you play against teams in the Championship, League One, League Two. They're going to be playing a bit more in a physical way, low block, long balls, all that jazz. That's going to not work for us. So, um, if there's any hope, it would be the Champions League. But I'm not saying that that will happen. Um, I need to see a lot more from this team for me to even talk about us even being close to winning the Champions League. So, I was asked, what do you think the difference is between UCL and Premier League? So, with the Champions League, I think there's a bit more space to play. Whereas I feel like in the Premier League, everything is 100 miles per hour. It's ferocious. It's intense. Um, and I think that's why I'm using Florian Wirtz as an example. That's why I think he has struggled because when he's playing in the Bundesliga, he's had more time on the ball, or when he's received the ball, he's probably got two passes already like in his mind, like what he's gonna do, but he's got a second to think about it. In the Premier League, we don't really have that. You know, in the Premier League, you really have to pass and move. Like it's that kind of dynamic. Whereas in the Champions League, it's more technical, and I think it's not played to that level unless you're playing at Atletico Madrid. But we've already beaten them this season, so I think there's a bit more space to play against the European teams. So that's why, based on Ozan's question there, if I was to say a trophy that we can try and go for, it would be the Champions League. But honestly, I've not seen enough from this team to say that we'll even go on a great run in the Champions League because we haven't played to a high level. That's a concern for me going forward. So yeah, if I was to say one, it would be the Champions League, and I'm going off history as well. You know, when we won the Champions League in 2005, on paper we didn't have the best team. Let's be honest, guys, but we kind of put all our eggs in one basket for the Champions League campaign. The league kind of fell because Rafa Benitez was still learning how to present a team in the English Premier League. Whereas in Europe, he knew what to do in Europe. He had decent success with Valencia, but the European game, he knew how to get the best out of his team there. And tactically, he was a bit more sound, to go up against a European an opponent. Whereas he'll be struggling against like the West Brom and all those sort of teams. So he hadn't got, he didn't have the know-how to beat those low block. Yeah, we've been playing those teams for a long time. It's not just recently. Um, and we didn't have the personnel. That's why we ended up signing Peter Crouch later on after that season because you know big player, good hold-up play. We needed that type of player in our squad. So that's why we focused on the Champions League more so that season. And it could be the same here. We could do that this season where, you know, I feel like our players are more suited for that type of football and it could work. So, but let's see. Even in that campaign, we were, you have to have a luck with your run to the final. Olympiacos a spectacular goal from Steven Gerrard, but of course that was in the last stages of us going through, and of course the cup final. Who's going to forget that? So yeah, you need to have a bit of luck as well on your side. But I don't know if I was to choose one, that would be it. That could salvage our season. Otherwise, I don't know. FA Cup doesn't really give me that confidence that we'll do well there, just because we can't do low blocks. Slot's told the whole world about that. So yeah, we don't have the answers apparently, according to Slot. And then Bo agreed with regards to my opinion on the Champions League there. Ozan Kabak bringing up some names there. Milan Baros. Yeah, Milan Baros for most part of that season. And then Cisse making a miraculous return because he broke his leg uh, midway through the season. I think it was against Blackburn where he broke his leg there. and he made a return just before the final and scored a penalty as well. So yeah, so those two were in rotation, but yeah, Milan Barros definitely stepped up there. Because when we signed him, he was very highly regarded. And that season, he definitely made a name for himself. Harry Kewell, what a talented player, but he just really messed up, man. He was so good. At Leeds United, he was something else. He really was. Spitzer, Spitzer was a bit part player at that time, but yeah, Dimitrov, yeah, yeah. But look, he's a Champions League winner. Can't really say much to him in regards to his ability there. But yeah, he did his thing for us, and he helped us win the trophy. So yeah, gets my respect in that regards. But also, did you see the Robbo interview after Scotland? Just love that man. Yeah, it was raw emotion. It was, you know, it was authentic, and you know, we have said on the show a few times. We can't use Dale Joshua's passing as an excuse, but it still plays a part. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but for some players, that grief it's very, very, hard for them to get past. Especially when you've been so close to someone over the years, it's very hard to just put it to one side. So I feel for the players, and it's easy to say that, oh, if you're struggling emotionally, step to one side. It's not how life works. You still got to, still got to work. You still got to get on with things. And look, there are players that are playing at the highest level under the microscope of millions and millions of viewers all over the world. So they can't just not turn up because they don't feel like it or they're not emotionally ready. They have to do the work. But I'm not gonna say that's an excuse. But yeah, it's good to hear that Joe Jota's still you know in his thoughts. And yeah, I'm sure Joe Jota will be very proud of Robertson because he achieved something really special with Scotland qualifying for the World Cup. So yeah, so definitely that was definitely a heartfelt interview from Robbo after the game. Delulu Steve saying mid players. Yeah, but they won us the Champions League, so they get my respect. That's for sure. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to, let's go from the top. Thank you to Oz and Kabak as always. Thank you to Bo. Thank you to Lily Steve. Thank you to Liverpool 12th man. Thank you to, what else do we have? Thank you to Ahmed. Thank you to, who else do we have? To Asim from Born and Red. Big up yourself as well, Asim. And yeah, if I've missed your apologies. But yeah, big up to everyone for getting involved in the live chat. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, in terms of the watch along, I'm 50-50 on the watch along. So what I'll do is if I go live, you'll see a stream loaded up on my channel. But if not, I'll let you guys know tomorrow on my YouTube community post. If I'm not able to do so or not. But what I will do is I'll definitely do a match reaction show probably on Sunday evening because I'm not sure if I'm not at home. Then of course I can't do the watch along, so I'll probably miss the game live. So I'll have to try and watch the game afterwards and then gather my thoughts and then we can discuss it together. So Sunday evening at 11 p.m. UK time. It's also a call-in show, so if you'd like to call in and have your say, feel free to get involved. And yeah, that'll be the next show lined up. And then yeah, let's take it from there. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.